the beautiful St. Paul's Church. In the area of Manningham in Bradford. Peace and blessings to you wherever you are in the world. My name is Javed Khan. Welcome to Bradford here in West Yorkshire, and in particular welcome to the grounds of the St. Paul's Church here in Manningham. Now, as a very young person, around about 1975, I remember playing in these grounds, and it's one of my most distinct memories as a child. Now, I have massive respect for our elders. I love sitting around with them and listening to their stories and learning from their stories. So I've asked quite a number of them recently. I said, would you appear on camera so we can listen to your stories and share them out throughout the world? Now, quite a number are camera shy. Quite a number simply do not want to tell their story. Now, if we have knowledge and we keep our knowledge to ourselves and we keep our stories to ourselves, we will not grow, and we will not share things, because the idea is sharing is caring. Now, without me getting too technical, I'm going to take you on a story, because your story to you is just a story. Your story to someone else is an absolute means of inspiration, because we have listened to stories for thousands of years, and there's many metaphors in those stories, there's many wisdom in those stories. And even if you were a nipper like me, you used to watch Play School at 4 o'clock when you came back from school, because you would want to listen to the story. You would either go through the square window, the round window, the arch window, and I can't remember, but there was definitely a window. So St. Paul's Church here in Manningham was originally built, I believe, around about 1846. John Hollings, who was a local mill owner, was described as having purity of character, and he had great benevolence, and he put his hand into his pocket and he set the first foundation for the church. And the only reason I know that is because I read it somewhere, so I'm no historian. However, great people like that existed, and they still exist today as well. So as children, we actually played in this church here, and we played in the grounds. And although I'm too old to remember, access to the church was relatively easy. I think it was the vicar at the time would come out, we would help to clean, he would give us some sweets. So the church and its ground holds great memories for me. Now, so as you can see it from a distance away now, we would walk down the hill, go over the wall most of the time, or sometimes walk through the gates and end up in the church grounds. Now what I'm going to do is, so if you're watching this video around about 1970, 71, 72, 73, 74, I can't remember, I was too young for that time, but I can remember from 1975 onwards. So did you live in this area of Manningham? Did you live on St Mary's Road or St Paul's Road or Skinner Lane or around these areas? If you did, please comment below. Please get in touch, because it's important that you do, and we want to share these stories. A question for you: how many of you were born in Britain and still have strong links with your motherland? How many of you still go to the motherland? How many of you grew up with one language, two languages, three languages, or four languages when you lived in these areas? So currently I'm walking on Garfield Avenue. So I was born in Wyke. Then we lived on Westbourne Road, which is just on the other side of the street, as I'm disturbed by the ice cream van. And I'm going to share some distinct memories with you of my younger days, of the schools we went to, the food that we ate, what happened at home, the types of homes that we had, where Dad, God bless his soul, when he went to work, what happened when people came to the door, what we did on the weekend, etc., and making it as interesting and appealing as possible. So if you have a story to tell, share it with me and I'll share it with you. So here we go. So we lived on 115 Westbourne Road. As you can see now, the site is a school. So our house was roughly over there, which was at the bottom of the road. And we used to jump over the wall and play in the neighbours' houses around the corner. So there was houses on both sides of the street, and on the opposite side, the houses were right down adjoining this property here. And where when the properties actually adjoined, okay, we used to play on the top and sit on the top of the roofs of these houses here because they were fairly low. And at the bottom of the road here, Mr. Trim's on the corner in 1975 was a fish and chip shop. And as you can see from the front side here with the little cottages, we used to play on top of these roofs. And this was the adjoining street known as Lily Street to Westbourne Road. And if you're watching Shafiq Bashir, Hafiz Bashir, Idris Bashir Baijan, this was their old street. And a couple of streets away, this was, or still is, the famous Oak Lane. And you may be able to see the chimney in the background, which is the Lister Mill, which links onto St Mary's Road. So I've come inside because it's a bit warmer. So my question to you is, did you live in this area? Are you familiar with this area? Do you know about the history of this area? When did your parents come to this area? So I'm talking about 1975 when I was a nipper. So the area and ourselves, and obviously my parents and many of the other parents in this area have a connection to the Asian subcontinent. So the connections between Bradford and Pakistan are huge. Now, then Pakistan was a part of the British Empire, and in 1947 it became Pakistan. Is that how you say that? And then it became an independent republic roughly about 1956. So the United Kingdom and Pakistan, they've got a shared legacy. Look, they've had relatively cordial relations over the years and years. Don't want to really get into politics too much. And there's often a high level of interactions. And there's a strong connection between people and people. So like myself, since being a young person, we've kept a connection with Pakistan for a thousand reasons and a thousand benefits as well. Together, Pakistan, the United Kingdom, they work together in education, creating jobs, particularly looking at women's education, and or many things as well. So look back to 1975 when I was a young person, and some of the things that I particularly remember. So number one, let's talk about going to school. So we would walk across from home. Dad would drop me off on Carlisle Road. We would then catch a bus. The bus would travel about 3 or 4 miles roughly out of the city, and I went to Sandy Lane School. What do I remember about Sandy Lane School? I remember the head teacher, Miss Murphy, and I remember drinking cold milk. Yes, we were given a bottle of milk at school, whether we liked it or we didn't. We would need to drink the milk. What else do I remember? God bless their souls. I had 2 brothers, very close relationship with them as well. They passed away in a car accident in 1977, which I'll tell you about at some other stage. But what do I particularly remember about 1975? I remember Dad was working in a factory. They would walk about 3 or 4 miles. Come to think of it now, it's more than 3 or 4 miles. Probably about 6 miles there and 6 miles back every week. They would get paid weekly. They would bring the wages at home. On a Saturday, we would go to the shops and we would pay for the ration, which was on a list. At that time it was called ration. In Porto this will say ration. So, you know, it wasn't rationed as such, but they used to call it ration. So they would go and pay the tabs. It was very trusting time as well. On Oak Lane, I remember Uncle Waris particularly. I think that was one of the first shops. I think Sully's, theirs is still one of the first shop that exists as well. I remember Dad would not go outside without wearing a shirt and a tie because it was frowned upon. We would have coal that would come to the house. For those of you that don't even know what I'm talking about, okay, there wasn't central heating and there wasn't the gas fires. Okay, coal would be thrown into the cellar, and sometimes the system of the heating would be in the cellar, so they'd warm the house up by using the coal. There'd be chimneys in each and every house. Some people probably don't even know what a chimney is. Okay, and there would be like smoke usually everywhere. Yeah, Dad would do the night shift. What else do I remember? I remember lots of the Pakistanis would get together. They would play cricket. There used to be a yellow car, a driving instructor that would come in a yellow car. I think it was a Viva. So those of you that are old enough in the area, he would teach lots of people to drive. Masjid Quba in Bradford. Remember that in 1975. I remember going to the masjid. I just remember lots and lots and lots of snow. And when it used to snow, it really did snow. The plows would be out, but snowing was quite normal. When people would go to Pakistan, they would go to Heathrow Airport. I remember once, I think it was first time, by the way, I went to Pakistan. I was born in the UK. First time I went to Pakistan was in 1975. And we went from Heathrow Airport, and I think we went in British Airways. That's about all that I can actually remember. I think Pakistan International, PIA, and those guys were PIA and British Airways. I think were the only two flights that I remember. On Westbourne Road itself, I remember a lady. I think she was from Eastern Europe, and I think she was called Mary. She was very friendly with lots of people on the city. What else do I remember? People were working like six and 7 days. They were working all the overtime God could send. I remember the elders talking about reading Friday prayers on a Sunday. Listen to that again. They would read Friday prayers on a Sunday. Do not ask me why, but I can only guess. It would be okay because of the conditions of work, not being able to have a Friday off and things like that. Other things about Bradford. By the way, this is data that I've read. This is not from my memory. I'm no expert on these things as well, but I know in the 1960s the textile and woolen industries were growing. According to Data and Facts, in 1959 there was two groceries and butchers that were supplying halal meat, if I remembered that correctly. And the first masjid in Bradford in Howard Street is registered as 1959, I believe so. In 1962, when the Commonwealth Act came in, migrants were encouraged to settle in Bradford, and by 1964 there was 12,600 Pakistanis in Bradford. 5,400 were from Mirpur, my Mirpuri brothers, and 3,000 from Church, and 1,500 in number from East Pakistan at the time. West Indian, Dominica, depending how you say it, where you are in the world, Jamaica and Barbados communities were also increasing in those numbers as well. So look, whilst I'm telling you this, if you've got any memories of Bradford and the area and the links to our motherland, please let me know. Please comment below. By the way, if you like the video and what I'm talking about and it's of interest to you, please like it, please share it, spread it throughout the world. And please comment as well, because these are just experiences I'm sharing of growing up and just memories. Somebody may learn something from it, so it may give somebody a bit of inspiration. Oh yes, what else do I remember? Okay, football. Okay, I remember, do not ask me why. Okay, I remember liking Liverpool. Liking Liverpool Reds, yeah. And then I think it was the 1975 Cup final. Manchester United 2, Liverpool 1. And my older brother, he was a Manchester United fan. He was a great sportsman as well. God bless his soul. His name was Parvez. Okay, he passed away in 1977 when I was young. He was a great. I remember him winning awards for playing volleyball, for playing cricket. I remember people coming to collect him and take him to play cricket and other sports on the weekends as well. What did we do as kids on the weekend? Oh my goodness gracious. Ali Haidar Kakaji from Mardan, Allah de Ubahi, Ali Gohar Lala, Nasir Khan Lala, Tajwali Kaka, Allah Pak de Ubahi, right? Tajwali Kaka said Kakaji, they were in Keithley, so Nasir Khan Lala and family, they would come and collect us. We would all pile into the back of a Vauxhall Viva and drive to Keithley. We would, as kids, we would play in the garden and the area, and the elders would play tash. They'd play cards. So look, da video tasun gore tasun si yadi, okay, da ge waqsara or so kise ma yadi, so banyan ma yadi, so khalak ma yadi. Please let me know, okay, and we'll share the story. I want you to come and tell your stories on the channel as well, because look, this is your channel. Now, other things, okay, that were going on, when I compare them to today. So in terms of one of the biggest things today is technology. Okay, telephone ko chakolo agal ko telephone chi wuina biachi telephone chakaro wo. It was like a great thing. It was a great thing. If they had disposable income, from what I remember at that time, okay, it was a great thing. Kuruna kichideno carpete, vacuum cleaners, washing machines, microwaves. Das is chideno. I can't even remember. Remember sitting on the table eating dodai together. Okay, main khorak was dodai, all right. not like today. Okay, whatever it is that you want. And when I was thinking now, I drink a lot of tea without sugar. I can't remember people like generally drinking any other tea besides, Bucky chai, right? This is just like memory, right? Bucky chai, maybe anyway, back to chai, yeah, Bucky chai. So I forgot where I was, but back to data again. 1966, there was 133 Pakistani-based shops in Bradford of all sorts of different kinds. There were 16 cafes. The first Gurdwara Sikh temple is registered as 1972 in Bradford, and in 1975 Shea Bridge Masjid also came along as well. Then in 1976, oh my goodness, something known as the Battle of Bradford, when the National Front, racist people, came into the city, and they were opposed by the Asian community, Afro-Caribbean community, and or other communities as well. And in 1977 is when we migrated to Bradford, and I'll tell you the story one day as well. So look, I hope you've learned some stuff from that. I'm just sharing, okay, what's in my mind, just sharing stories. If you've got a story, please let me know. If you learned anything from the story, let me know. If there's anything you want me to talk about, please let me know. Okay, wherever you are in the world, okay, have a wonderful, blessed